to make sense of it all. I know that your love broke my faith. Scandal of grace, you died in my place. My soul really ought to be like you. Give all I have just to know you. Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever the hope in my heart. Death, where is your sting? Your power is dead as my sin. The cross started to live. Mercy, my heart now to sing. The day in its trouble shall come. Don't let your strength is enough. Scandal of grace, you died in my place, so my soul really hope to be like you. I give all I have just to know you. Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever the hope in my heart. So, because of you, Jesus. So, because of you, Jesus. Oh, because of your love, that my soul really hopes to be like you. Give all I had just to know you. Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever the hope in my heart. Hope to be like you. Give all I had just to know you. Jesus, there's no one beside you. Ever the hope in my heart.
Also, I'm going to have you bring up that scripture from Luke chapter 8. Starting in verse 26, it says, Then they sailed to the country of, I've messed this up both times, Gerasenes. Yes, Gerasenes. I looked it up specifically on Google and found a pronunciation just so I would get it right, and I still struggled. To the country of Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. When Jesus had stepped out on land, there met him a man from the city who had demons. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he had not lived in a house but among the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him and said with a loud voice, What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me. For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many a time it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the desert. Jesus then asked him, What is your name? And he said, Legion, for many demons had entered him. And they begged him not to command them to depart into the abyss. Now a large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. When the herdsmen saw what had happened, they fled and told it in the city and in the country. Then people went out to see what had happened, and they came to Jesus and found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. What I love about this scripture, I was reading this scripture this morning, and it's such an interesting story. Even from my childhood, this has always been one of my favorite stories because I just thought this was the craziest story, the demons going into the pigs and the pigs drowning. But I had never picked up on the fact that it talked about the man being in chains and how he would break his own chains. But then when Jesus came onto the scene, when the man broke his own chains, he was still chained and bound by those demons. They still controlled everything he did. He was living as a dead man in the tombs. away from everybody and anybody. But when Jesus comes along, he breaks those chains. And that makes all the difference. He is raised from his dead life, living in the tombs, and now we see him surrounded by people, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed, and it says, in his right mind. The next song we're going to sing is Chainbreaker. The difference that Jesus makes, so many times we try to break our own chains, don't we? And it never, never, never works. But when Jesus comes along and he breaks those chains, that makes all the difference. I'm going to ask Tim if he would to come up. We're going to take up our offering during this song, but I want you guys to sing this song along with me and think of those chains and those binds that you've been freed from. If you've been walking the same old road for miles and miles, if you've been hearing the same old voice tell the same old lies, if you're trying to fill the same old holes inside, there's a better life. There's a better life. And if you got pain, he's a pain taker. If you feel lost, he's a way maker. If you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. You got chains. Chain breaker. We've all searched for the light of day in the dead of night. We've all found ourselves worn out from the same old fight. And we've all run to things we know just ain't right. When there's a better life, yeah, there's a better life. So if you got pain, he's a pain taker. And if you feel lost, he's a way maker. If you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. You got chains, he's a chain breaker. So if you believe it, if you receive it, if you can't feel it, somebody testify. If you believe it, if you receive it, if you can't feel it, somebody testify, testify. If you believe it, if you receive it, if you can't feel it, somebody testify. You got pain, he's a pain maker. And if you feel lost, he's a way maker. If you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. You got chains, he's a chain breaker. Oh, if you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. You got chains, well, he's a chain breaker. Thank you guys. You can be seated. We have just a few announcements for you.
Hey, just a couple of real quick announcements. First of all, just to remind you that this evening, Interstate 515, starting at apparently 5:15. If you need more information on that, please see Brandon Miller. Brandon's not in here. He's downstairs. You'll recognize him. If you don't know who Brandon is, you'll recognize him and Mandy. Here's Mandy. Brandon is the guy walking around in the Florida Gators jersey for whatever reason. But anyway, that's the guy. So that'll be this evening. That's for teenagers, if you would be interested in that. This coming Thursday, correct, Pastor Nate, we're dismissing Thursday night Bible study because the ladies are going AWOL and they're going off to watch a Christian comedian. And so, yeah, you ladies will enjoy that. If you've never seen her, she's really very funny. And so I hope that you guys have a good time. Easter egg hunt is March 31st. Now, I made a commitment last week to stuff 500 eggs. But I didn't pick up my eggs last week. So I'm going to pick my eggs up today and make certain, maybe that's what I'll do Thursday night while Pam's at the what they're going to. Maybe I can get start working on that. But anyway, so if you committed, some of you last week raised your hand to say that you would help stuff them eggs. See if there's none back there. If you go back in the fellowship hall in that gray tote, Bobby, are there eggs in there?
There should be some more days.
Okay, so.
We don't have a lot of candy yet, but we'll have more candy by next time.
Okay. All right. So, and somehow or another the other day, the UPS man dropped off 2 bags of little miniature Tootsie Rolls for the eggs. We have no idea. So if you send it through from Amazon or wherever, we appreciate it. We don't know where it came from. But nonetheless, so the egg hunt was what, 3 weeks from yesterday, 2 weeks from Saturday, March 31st. Bobby will be giving you more information probably next week for our helpers, what time we'll need you to be there at St. Clair Park. And folks, it is critically important that we have people there to help with that. On the bulletin board, there's some places for people to sign up to volunteer to help clean. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for those of you that do that, because that is so, so, so critically important. And so if you haven't been able to help with that in a while, if you would please, on your way out, you go out the door, turn to the right, you'll find the bulletin board right there on the right. There's some areas. And you say, well, I don't really know what to do. Well, talk to myself or Pastor Nate. We'll give you some information on how you can help with that. All right? The volunteer part of what happens here is critically, critically, critically important. And so those of us that are here every day, we may not pay attention to that. But when new folks walk in, guess what they notice? They notice the spider webs. They notice the pictures are hanging crooked. They notice whether our bathrooms are clean or dirty. I was in a church out in, I won't even say where it was, 2 different churches. And one of the pastors said to me, he said, why don't you have any ideas what we could do to help the church grow? And I went into the vestibule and see that the people in their church always came in the side door. So their regular folks never came in the front door. And I looked and there were dried leaves and stuff there in the floor. And I said, well, really, you might just want to consider cleaning this area up. And then I was at a church one time, kind of back out in the sticks. And when Pam and I got there, the only reason we knew which door to go in, which happened to be the back door, because there was tracks in the snow where other folks had gone there. And we got to the front door and it was locked. And the pastor said to me, you got any suggestions what we could do to get the church to grow? And I said, well, you might try unlocking the front door. That might, I don't know, it just seemed like logical to me. But anyway, that's important. If you can help us with that, that's very important. Jenna, do you have anything to say about the women's thing?
No, just to announce that the women's, your money, if you're going on the trip, your money for your room is due by April 1st. And I think we have all the rooms kind of split up now. So if you need to know how much you owe, just let me know. We have a total for you. And then also, those women who are going to the Shonda Pierce concert, if we could just meet real quick up here in the front, just real quick to go over plans. Was that everything that you had? Stand with us. We're going to sing that new song again. You guys have heard it once. It's an easy song, so go ahead and stand with us. We're going to sing, and then you guys are dismissed. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I made it. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I made it. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, Now your mercy has saved my soul. And now your freedom is all that I know. The old man knew Jesus when I met you. And when you called my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. When you called my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. I need a rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I was a realtor, I was an orphan, now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing, now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you call my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. When you call my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. Out of the darkness, into your glorious day. The keystone of tomorrow. Good job.